My stepbrother has been an absolute nightmare, a pain in my side ever since I've known him. Well, guys, this is where he's gone too far. It has to do with my family, and I will not let him ruin my family like he's ruined his entire life. Plenty of people have tried to save this kid, and I am not going to be dragged down with this loser. Hey, I'm Jenna, and let me tell you a little about my story. I'm the only child born into a Canadian family. My parents got married at a young age and had me. I was loved dearly by my parents, and our family was a perfectly happy family. That was until my father got sick when I was 10. After his sudden death, we lost almost everything. My mom's job was not enough, and we were struggling to make ends meet. My mom was trying her best, but the whole financial, emotional tension she had to go through was just ruining her health. So my grandparents started to send her on blind dates so that she would meet a good man and get settled, and that's how she met my stepfather. My stepfather was not a bad man, rather, he was a very gentle and kind soul. Before marrying my mother, he knew her family situation. He knew that my mom had me and I was going to live with them if he wanted to marry her. Still, he totally accepted me and even showed me loads of adoration. So when my mom and stepdad started to get serious, my stepdad also introduced his son to us. From the very first meeting, I disliked my stepbrother a lot and decided to keep my distance from him. And that's when my mother wanted to. Anyways, even after they got married and when we started living together in his house, my stepbrother was sent to boarding school. The decision was made after he made my mom's life hell. He was a total troublemaker, a spoiled brat. He would pick up fights with the neighbors' kids and even trouble children at his school, so there were tons of complaints from everyone around us. He never listened to my mom and even bullied me as he was 2 years older than me. So, getting fed up with this whole situation, my stepdad had to make a decision to send him away. Maybe that was the reason he had held so many grudges against us and hated us to the core. Anyways, after he left, my life just got even better. My stepdad financially supported me and was very loving. He got admission to one of the most prestigious colleges in our area, and that's where I met my husband, Sam. My husband was actually a graduate from our university and was just helping out one of the teachers as an assistant. We had a 6-year age gap, and he was a serious-looking person who was actually a total goofball. As we got to know each other, Sam started telling me things about himself. And that's when he told me that he was actually bisexual. It was something new for me, as none of my previous relationships were anything but straight. But I was serious about him, that I decided to just keep it, aside and have no problem with it. So we just started dating, and soon things were going quite fast. In just 1 year, we were already engaged and he proposed to me. We soon got married. Our wedding was very lavish and was one of the happiest days of my life. Everyone was there for me, but there was one person who did not attend my wedding, and that was my stepbrother. I had personally invited him, but he just cut my call and never bothered to give me a reason why he could not attend. My stepdad was really angry about it, and he decided to address this issue later, as he did not want to create a scene. Anyways, his mood was not the best because of him throughout our wedding. Everything is going great for me, though. But I had no idea what kind of fight happened at my parents' house. I later got to know that my brother came home drunk and was actually partying with his friends. He wasn't even busy or anything, he just didn't care at all. And this resulted in my stepfather getting really angry and slapping him across the face. It did not stop there. My mom told me that after the incident, Miles started behaving even more carelessly. He would intentionally rile up father and then enjoy his reaction. One day, he made him so angry that his blood pressure shot through the roof and he had a minor heart attack. He was hospitalized. I got a call and was informed about it. I left my house in a hurry as I worriedly went to the hospital. My mom was in a disheveled state, she was crying nonstop, and I tried consoling her and was in the middle of calming her down when Miles arrived. He was with another boy, and the two were happily chatting as they leisurely walked towards us. His nonsense and insensitive behavior angered me, and I walked towards him and pushed him hard. His being stronger than mine gave him the benefit, and he did not even budge. I shouted at him to get lost, and he just stood there unapologetically, which made me even more mad. It annoyed me how he just scoffed as if, he were bothered. ignored me and walked towards my mom as he asked her how Dad was. Before she could even answer him, he just cut her off and started mocking her, saying that he knew that she wished him dead so that she could get all of his money. After all, that's what she wanted from him. His statement left my mom speechless, but I just stormed towards him and slapped him across the face, earning a reaction from a passerby. Before I could get even more furious, his friend started to drag him away, and thankfully he went away without any resistance. I have no idea how much he hated us, or, after this slap, how much trouble he was going to bring me. Anyways, after my dad got out of the hospital, I went to visit him with my husband, and we had a nice time with him. My husband told me I could stay at their house for some days and that he would get me back, and I agreed. As I was staying there one day, Miles was not home, but he left his phone at home. I was in the living room watching TV when I heard his phone ringing continuously, so I decided to check who was calling him. And before I could do so, the doorbell rang, and I wanted to open the door. The guy in his late 20s was standing there as he furiously called someone again and again. I inquired with him about his purpose, and he told me that he was a friend and he wanted to meet him. I told him that he wasn't home and that he forgot his phone here. I could see how the man got even more frustrated hearing that. So curiously, you could say curiosity got the best of me. I ended up asking him what the deal was about it. He seemed to be in his thoughts for a few moments before he decided to tell me that he was here because Miles had been selling drugs and gambling and had been arrested before because of that, and he had asked for some money from him. Now that he needs it back, he's not giving him the money back. I was shocked to hear what he just told me. I was still thinking about what to do when I saw a car pulling up and my stepmother exiting it. I told the boy to go away, but he told me that he desperately needed money and could not go away unless he got it. I had no idea how to handle the situation. Before I could insist again, my grandfather noticed the tension, walked up to him and questioned him about what he wanted. I tried to dismiss the boy, but Grandpa wasn't having it. In the end, the boy spilled the beans about the truth and told him why he was there. Blood drained from Grandfather's face upon hearing him, and he almost collapsed, so I rushed to hold him. Hearing this commotion, my mom came out and also learned about the situation. After hearing all this, a big fight broke out in our home. Unfortunately, we could not hide it from stepfather, and he called Miles his friend and learned about his illegal activities. When Miles came home that evening, my stepfather hit him so many times in the face that we had to separate the two. Well, the situation escalated really fast, and soon things were getting shattered. Mom was crying non-stop, and I was sure that our neighbors could also hear all the yelling from our house. Anyways, that night all the elders sat down and came to the decision that they would be sending him Miles away since there were a lot of people looking for him, and the situation was getting all messed up. So for his safety, this scene was made, and Miles was sent to a friend's house in another city. Miles initially resisted the decision and made a lot of fuss about it. He fought with my stepdad and even my mom and made sure their lives would not have any peace in them. But when my dad threatened to cut off the financial aid, he finally gave in. So within a month, everything was arranged and Miles was gone. Everyone who came looking for him was informed that Miles had not been home for months and we had no idea where he was. It was quite tiresome to deal with them, but eventually they left us all alone and believed us that Miles had no contact with us. This whole arrangement was done to make sure nobody would get their hands on him. He would not get dragged by the bad people. There were a lot of dangerous people looking around for him. Anyways, after Miles wasn't here and the situation calmed down, I decided to go back to my own house and look after my husband, who had been working relentlessly on his business. Sam's business was not doing that well these days, and he had told me about it. Anyways, I knew that he needed my support, and I needed to be there for him after making sure my dad was getting better. I went back. Although my marriage was doing great, my studies had been greatly affected, so I decided to resume my law degree and join my university to get my degree. I've been really busy after my wedding as there have been a lot of responsibilities that have been added to my already long list. I worked hard day and night to get my degree, and slowly I did not even realize how time passed and I was already graduating from university. Throughout all this, for 3 years, there was no news from Miles, and I was the only source of happiness for my parents. So, once I got my degree, everybody was really happy and proud of me and attended my graduation with big smiles. There were no issues in my life, or so I thought. Sam was really caring, and we had already had no disagreements, but one thing I was not aware of was that Sam did not share what happened at his work with me, and was quite mysterious about it now. I didn't mind it at first, as I had no interest in business whatsoever, but his not discussing his worries with me slowly started to get on my nerves. So, we had arguments about it here and there, but I was still not cautious enough. I had no idea that this would be the reason for our downfall. Update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back, and I would like to talk about what actually happened with Sam's business. And how things escalated after I neglected the issue. So, those days Sam's behavior was very different, and he started to come home very late. He said there was a lot of work these days, and he was pretty busy with all of it, so I did not question it much at first. But then things got even worse when Sam's investors started pulling up from the deals. And Sam told me that he was afraid that his company was going bankrupt soon, and I was very worried about it and all. I promised him that we would solve the problem together, and I was with him, but I had no idea that my word of reassurance meant nothing. Slowly, I noticed that he started to stop telling me everything related to work, and he would not tell me about the situation was at work anymore at all. So when I inquired about it again and again and again, something slipped up from his mouth, which really shocked me. He told me that Miles contacted him and wanted to invest in his company. The statement itself was really shocking, and I was dumbfounded. I told him that Miles was not good news and he should stay away. And his statement sounded suspicious. Sam tried to make me believe that maybe Miles just wanted to help, or maybe Miles was doing it because he could see the potential of the company. But I knew this was not true, because Miles was not a good person at all, and I knew it from years ago when I met him when we were kids. I knew he was up to no good, so I warned Sam to stay away from him and not take any kind help from him. Sam apparently agreed with me and said that he would not contact him again. But I had no idea that behind closed doors, Miles had actually persuaded him already. Miles offered to give him a very large amount of money, which he desperately needed at the moment, but greed got the best of him, and he had already agreed to work with him and had signed the deal. Maybe, seeing my resistance, Sam tried to keep it a secret from me and started to work with Miles. I again noticed that shift in behavior, and realized that these days the company had suddenly started doing better. I asked him what happened out of the blue for everything to suddenly turn around and do great. He lied to me and said that he found another investor, so in my eyes the case was closed there, and that was another mistake. After this, Sam starts to lie to me even more and starts to go out of town with the excuse of business meetings even more frequently. I was too stupid to notice it at first and only realized it when things were already slipping from my grasp. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's been a month, and this behavior only worsened. I wanted to address the issue and just see if we had, what you have to say about it. But something unexpected happened. I came home from work and went to the kitchen to make myself something to eat. I was dizzy and felt like puking, so I went up to the bathroom and emptied my insides. I'd been feeling bad for almost a week now, so there was some suspicion that I had to confirm it. I decided to take a pregnancy test. I waited for it to show results for a few minutes, and my doubts were confirmed when I saw those 2 positive lines. I was so happy about it that I really forgot about the issue going on in my life. So, when Sam came home, I excitedly walked up to him and broke the news to him. What I expected were smiles and laughter and hugs, but what I got were dreadful expressions. I stood there hurt. I was ready to question Sam's reaction when he suddenly started acting all joyful and held me, and after he seemed really happy, I was confused about the reaction, so I asked him about his initial expression, and he said that he was shocked, and it took him a bit of time to process what I just said. The excuse wasn't that good, but I decided to let it go, for I was happy to even care about it. So after the incident, what I expected was that he would start caring about me and my relationship would get better. But guys, the complete opposite happened. Sam starts to avoid me even more. and he was not even hiding it. I had no idea what to do about it. I wanted to address the issue again, make things better. I was pregnant, and I wanted to do it for the baby, but then he did the most horrible thing a person can do to someone. I actually came home after my doctor's appointment, which was supposed to take me to, but he refused to go because of some very urgent meeting. So, I was not really feeling well, and I thought to just sleep when I was at home, but I had no idea that I was going to walk up to this. I opened my bedroom door and found my stepbrother and my husband in a very inappropriate position. Wow, I was frozen in my place. I could not even move a muscle as I stared at them with horror filled in my eyes. I noticed how Sam panicked and got up, but my brain still could not process what Miles was doing and why he was there in the first place. The initial shock subsided, and I just walked towards Sam, slapped him hard across the face, and yelled at him for being such a horrible person. Tears were streaming down my face as I shouted at the top of my lungs, feeling shattered by what angered me even worse was how nonchalant my stepbrother was. I yelled at him. For his audacity to do this to me, I could never imagine in 1,000 years what Miles would do to me. I had no idea Miles was gay in the first place. So this whole situation was very uncalled for and unexpected for me, and I had no idea how to deal with it. Update number 3. A storm rose up in our house, and I just drove to my parents and told them about the entire whole situation. Everybody was shocked about what happened, and my stepdad just wanted to kill Miles. Well, we stopped him and decided to deal with the matter a bit more wise. I cried for so many hours that night in my mother's embrace. Sam called me so many times and cut all of his calls because there's nothing else to explain. I knew we were not going to get together after what happened, and even if it killed me, I was not going back. So, I ignored my own heartbreak and I decided to file for divorce. It did not take long for the divorce to be finalized, and no matter how much it hurt me, I separated my path from his. My child was unborn, so it's pretty clear that the child custody would be decided later. And this way my relationship of years ended in a few days because of his infidelity. After all, there were a lot of rumors going around, and all of our relatives were discussing our broken family. It was very hard for us to go through all of it, and everything was because of Miles. Just then, he dropped another bomb on us, and I was told that Miles and Sam got married. Well, yeah, it came as a shock to absolutely everyone, and whoever heard it was disgusted by Miles' low move to marry his sister's ex-husband. Ugh. This whole situation mentally destroyed me, and it took me months to get better. I dealt with it and endured it all because of my baby. A few months later, I finally got to hold my babies in my arm. I finally believed my life was getting better, and I made sure to contact the court for child custody to avoid issues later on. I didn't face any problems with it as Sam was already married, and the reason for divorce was also pretty clear, so I was able to get custody and financial support from Sam. I was all alone in raising our daughter, though, and I knew that Sam decided to keep her away from his life, and it was better this way. Several months passed, and my daughter was now 5 months old. I was getting better, and I had just gotten a job too, and then he returned. So what happened was I was in my office, starting a case when I get a notification that somebody wanted to see me. I buzzed him in. I was shocked to see Sam standing in front of me looking miserable. I was so angry that I yelled at him to get up out of my office, but he dropped to his knees and started begging me to help him. No, that was something I did not expect, but hey, I still got him thrown out. Update number 4. A few days later, he visited me again, and this time he was crying. Like a desperate man who wanted to be heard, I decided to take pity on him just a bit and questioned him about what he wanted from me. And he told me that Miles had made his life hell and had gotten his entire business fraudulent, and now he's got no money and can't even get himself a meal. He was crying and telling me about how abusive Miles was and how he was treating him like a slave. He cried, asking me to help him get it all back, and saying he had no one to ask for help and no money to get himself a lawyer to get away from the man. I wanted to laugh at him. He wanted me to help him get divorced from Miles and get his business back, but I had some other plans. Karma hit him so bad, and he deserved it for neglecting his own child for cheating on him. I was so furious that he even had the audacity to come to my face and ask me for help. So I called security and got him kicked out, ignoring all his desperate cries and pleas, and ignored all his crocodile tears. Days later, I got to know that Miles beat him up and hit Sam so badly that he was hospitalized after receiving very serious injuries. Even the cops were involved. But Miles still did not learn his lesson and continued to hang out with the wrong crowd. I was later informed that Miles completely destroyed his company. It was gambling, and now they're both struggling for money. He gambled all the money, and now they have nothing left. And also, he got caught selling drugs, got arrested for his illegal activities again, and is now behind bars. There's a lot of people who were after him, and he had taken on many debts, so he wasn't getting out of jail any sooner. And as for Sam was concerned, he wasn't doing any better. He was struggling really bad, had to sell his house, and all his money was wasted by Miles. He moved back to his parents' old abandoned house in the countryside, and he just started doing labor work to make ends meet. He had to continue to give me financial aid for his daughter. My daughter was growing up healthy, and I was able to afford a large house for myself. Even after all that, I gave them the right to meet his daughter if he ever wanted to, as I didn't want to make my daughter completely unaware of who her father was. Well, my friends and my parents were all happy to help me out, and they're there for me. I decided to leave my past behind me, move on with my life, and look for a new beginning, as those who did wrong to me were already paying for their deeds. Okay, guys, so the craziest part of this story, I know, there were a lot of crazy parts to this story. It's not every day that you run into a story with the same, events of today's story. However, I think that the craziest part about this story was, OP's ex tried to come back to OP for help with her stepbrother after everything eventually fell apart. And can you imagine the absolute audacity to go back to the person that you cheated on with and ask for help about her stepbrother, who was the one who was involved in the cheating? This story just blew my mind. I want to know your thoughts about it. Say, for instance, you were in OP's position, and at the end of the story, your ex comes back for help. What do you do? Do you tell that ex to kick rocks? Or do you try to give a helping hand? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and if you guys are new to the channel, you're gonna want to hit that subscribe button. It's located right underneath this video. One click and you're subscribed. Also, hit that bell notification after you subscribe, and YouTube will alert you when I upload a video. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.